Hello everyone and welcome back to another Power King Adventures video. Today we're going up against level 242 of the Kizaru fight. This team should be able to handle up until at least level 215, probably beyond that. We are using some very powerful units, but this team does not use any of the new batch, nor does it use the 10th anniversary ace, which I've been seeing on a lot of different teams. There's no stall on stage 1 and 2, and we have a very interesting way of getting around stage 3. Overall, the things that are going to contribute to your damage the most is the final tap of versus Luffy, which is essentially going to just double your damage at the end if you have it maxed. As you can see here, we get a 1.0x damage dealt by other free spirit units at the end of the turn. And since Zora and Sanji transforms all of our units into free spirits, it's essentially just an extra double damage. We also have a lot of supports here. Kuma, I mean, essentially all these supports are essential besides Frankie. Frankie can be replaced by any Psy unit. I recommend level 150 support. Doesn't matter what support ability or a stat boost they provide, as long as they're level 150, because remember that will contribute to the damage cap limit break, if I can call it that. It allows you to go a bit past the damage cap, which I'm pretty sure this team can do. But it has to be a Psy unit so that Borsellino provides a slasher territory instead of a shooter territory, which is going to provide us an extra 1.5x damage. If you don't have a Psy support, you lose 1.5x damage. It's that simple. Odin and Roger support is our attack booster, and it's an unfortunate thing that we have to use this. I'll explain why later on, but either way, it's still going to be transformed into about a 2.75x attack boost, which is very good from a support ability. Everything else here is utility. Inaru is required to get around stun on the final stage. We have Kuma for despair reduction. You do need this ship, by the way, at level 12. Ace can be replaced by no one. No replacement for Ace. Inaru can't be replaced. Kuma, I don't think can be replaced either. It's a very rigid team, but it gets the job done. And I recommend starting Zora and Sanji in that form right there. Okay, let's get started. We are using, of course, Brook friend captain. He has a 3x stats. He has advantageous class to the enemy and an advantageous type, so he's gonna be dealing a lot of damage. He also helps a lot of with the gimmicks. So I'm actually not using a max friend captain here, so this is going to be a very weak demonstration of the team because we don't have super tan and boost on Brook. But either way, it just goes to show, because I'm pretty sure the team will still be able to wreck the enemy with this Brook, even without the super tan and boost. So Kizaru is a great captain ability to use here. He gets around burn and special bind, which are we don't really need the special bind reduction because we kill stage 4 in one turn. You do get special bind on stage 4 if you don't kill on the first turn, but we are going to be killing on the first turn. But as it said here, you don't have to stall on stage 1 and 2. We will be stalling on stage 3 though, so it's not a no stall team, but not on stage 1 and 2. On stage 1 here, we will be getting bomb orbs from the what's his face, Usopp and Lilith. This is a great way for us to manage our HP, because remember, on stage 5 you can't have above 50% HP going in. So once you see your HP starting to get a bit too high, just pop a bomb orb. But you have to be careful because these are very dangerous. Remember, Brook set our HP to like 20% at the start of the quest, 25%, no, to 20%. So if you consume 2 of these orbs accidentally, right here on stage 1, you will die. It happened to me before, and you have to be a bit cautious, but it's not too much of a problem. Just consume 1. I think I've tested this multiple times before, and as long as you consume 1 of these bomb orbs here on stage 1, you will never go above 50% HP. Even with the 5k heal per turn from the ship, you will be fine. So we can just swap Usopp and Lilith as well as Zora and Sanji on both stage 1 and 2. And then on stage 3, we can focus on getting our super swaps ready for both of those characters. If you want to be safe and get the least amount of bomb orbs as possible, you can first swap with Usopp Lilith and then with Zoro Sanji, but I mean, I wouldn't worry about it too much. More things to think about. Okay, so on stage 3, we're just gonna be swapping with Zoro Sanji every turn, getting them to their max swap, so that we can use their super swap on stage 4. So we will get paralysis. The main reason why we're doing all the stall, not only is to get our super swaps ready on Usopp and Lilith, is to store away the blow away, which is probably the most annoying debuff on this quest. If you clear stage 3 and stage 4 in one turn, then the blow away will not go away. That rhymed. No, it's just the same word. Either way, the blowaway will still be there at one turn by the final stage, just because of how blowaway works. It doesn't get reduced by preemptives, which makes it very annoying to deal with. Also, by the way, do not tap on Zoro and Sanji if they have a recovery or tandem orb, because that will reduce their switch effect gauge by 1, and that can mess with your run, because I started off Zoro and Sanji in their specific form so that they super swap into their quick form. On the final stage, the enemy's HP is 50% int for the first half and then 50% strength for the second half. So having Zoro and Sanji in their quick form to have type advantage for the second half is quite important for your damage. So as you can see there, I didn't tap on Zoro and Sanji. They do have a recovery orb, so I'm avoiding them, but now they're at the max super swap, so I don't have to really worry about them. As you can see, when we go into their quick form, or when we go into their dual form from their super swap, they will be in their quick form, which is going to make our damage much higher. So now we can just focus on getting Usopp and Lilith, their super swap maxed, and by the next turn we can kill. But as you can see, there's 0 cooldown problems, and our ship just got ready, so we can use it next turn when we need the despair reduction. Zoro and Sanji actually provides 1 turn of despair reduction from their sailor ability, but either way it's not enough. We need another form of despair reduction, in this case from the ship special. We are going to super swap into, or we can first use Borsalino's special, why not? We really don't need to hit these action specials with excellent until like really like high levels past 250. But I'm just doing it for showcase purposes. I mean, either way, I should be using a maxed Brook if I want to showcase the highest damage possible. But either way, then we're going to super swap into Zoro and Sanji's quick form, giving us an attack and orb boost. Then their special, which will buff it. The only one we care about is the orb boost, because that's the only one we're carrying over. And now, since we have a chain boundary and an attack and orb boost, our Luffy versus Luffy special will extend those buffs by 2 turns, allowing it to last until the final stage. It will also reduce the attack down, as Zoro and Sanji's special also reduce the enemy's threshold. And this will also provide us with a territory effect, or the second territory should I say. We actually got a territory of Slasher from our Kizaru, and then a territory from Luffy of Free Spirit. Remember, all of our units are Slasher Free Spirits at this point, so we get a 1.5x times 1.5x, which is a 2.25x from territory buffs, and these do last until the final stage. They carry over. It's just one of those things on how territory buffs work. Another thing that's very important is that Luffy versus Luffy provides a 3-turn or a 2-turn conditional attack boost, which is extended by 1 turn by Brook's captain effect, which is just it's like a puzzle, man. It fits so perfectly together. So look at all those buffs we're carrying over: an attack boost, orb boost, and a conditional attack boost, as well as the class change, 2 territories, and the chain boundary from Kizaru, all of which have been buffed. And then also a color affinity from Brook, which is another thing we are carrying over. So good. And at this point you want to tap on Luffy specifically. That'll one-shot kill Kizaru. The reason we want to do specifically Luffy is because he's the only one who's going to get a guaranteed matching orb on the final stage. We actually aren't using the X super of Kizaru. That would not really help us because we already have our super classes, and it will replace the strong orb boost we already have. So it would actually not be beneficial for us. So we get an attack boost from the Odin support, which may seem like a downgrade, but remember how Usopp and Lilith works. If you have an attack boost, then it will mess up your it will give you or set the enemies or give the enemy weakness status effect. But since the attack boost we had from Zoro and Sanji special or super swap is an overrideable attack boost, Usopp Lilith will both provide us the enemy or give the enemy weakness, as well as provide us an attack boost, their own attack boost, which is only to Dex, Strength, Shooter, and Cerebral characters, of which none of our units are. Well, Kizaru is, but he's not our damage dealer, so Usopp Lilith would provide us a useless attack boost. So to counter that, we need an attack boost that is not overrideable, which is provided from Odin support. If that makes sense, you'll see why that is so important. But now we can use the super swap of Lilith, which is essential to give us access to the super class, which will allow the attack boost from the Odin support to be buffed twice, and also buffed once by 1.2x. Luffy, his versus effect will buff it a further 1.2x and give the enemy increased damage taken through full immunity of 1.75x, and additionally buff our attack boost up to 3.24x. This will also proc the conditional attack boost, which we carried over from stage 4. So now we can use Usopp and Lilith's special to remove the damage nullification and inflict weakness, which has become stronger from 1.75x to about 2.25x due to the enemy also having increased damage taken. Usopp and Lilith's super swap also gave the enemy resistance down of -30% for our strength and dex units. So that means our Kizaru deals an extra 1.3x, as well as Usopp and Lilith themselves. You can then use the X super of Zoro and Sanji to give us super class for both of our classes for all of our units, as well as a chain growth rate buff. You can then use the super type of Brook to provide our Psy units super type, and also to give us damage reduction, which is essential to survive the death hit. He will also make our critical hit effects stronger. And then finally we can use Nami for a chain boost, a base attack boost, and also removing the enemy damage reduction. At this point, it's essential that you consolidate the level of your super tandem on Zoro and Sanji. If your super tandem level on Zoro and Sanji is below level 3, which means that you need to tap on 3 different characters to activate Zoro and Sanji's super tandem. One of them has to be Luffy. But if you are above level 3 or at level 3, you only need 2 other units besides Zoro and Sanji. One of them has to be Luffy to activate the super tandem effect. My Sanji is above level 3, Zoro and Sanji is above level 3, so I will be tapping on Nami, Usopp Lilith, and then Kizaru. Kizaru is not a part of the super tandem, so he will break it. Then we will tap on Brook, who will finish off the int component of the enemy's HP. And then finally on Zoro Sanji, and then on Luffy. Luffy will start, he will be the only character to get the super tandem attack boost, as well as the super tandem boost from Brook. But he will be dealing a shitload of damage because he's a quick unit. He's gonna have type advantage just like your Zoro and Sanji. And remember, since your Zoro, Sanji, and versus Luffy are quick units, who are also slasher, they get the strongest multiplier from the Odin support, a 3.25x attack boost instead of the 2.5x that everyone else gets. So these characters are going to be hitting like a truck. if you don't have a level 3 or above Zoro and Sanji Super Tandem, the order you tap in is gonna have to be on you're gonna have to tap first with Usopp Lilith, then Kizaru break, then with Nami, Brook, Zoro Sanji, and then Luffy. The reason there has to be a break is because if you tap on Zoro and Sanji but then you don't tap on a Luffy afterwards, because remember, Zoro and Sanji Super Tandem, it doesn't just require you to tap on 3 other Straw Hats. One of them has to be Luffy. If you tap on those 4 units and Luffy is not one of them, the Super Tandem will fail. So it's very important that you do it in this specific way. It's very stupid, but I've tested it so many times and it only works that way. So I repeat, if you are Super Tandem level 3 or below with Zoro and Sanji, tap on Usopp and Lilith, then Kizaru to break it, then your 3 Straw Hats, Nami, Brook, Zoro and Sanji, and then finally with Luffy. But for me personally, who is above level 3 Super Tandem of Zoro and Sanji, including level 3, this is the order I will be tapping in. And as you can see, our Nami has type advantage and our Brook has type advantage, who will destroy the int components of the enemy's HP. We're starting with Usopp and Lilith because our Nami is going to have type advantage. We want her to have a higher starting chain. I didn't have any types of buffs. You guys can go back to the start of the video. I didn't have any Sanji attack boost. This team did 460 billion without tapping our 2 highest damage dealing units. Brook didn't even have type advantage for that second half, and he just melted through that shit. We didn't have Super Tandem boost either. We didn't use the last step of versus Luffy. This team can easily reach the damage cap, as you could see right there. Level 238, oh, that was 245, 242, destroyed. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions about the team, ask them down below. I'm sorry about the long explanation, but the team works in a very specific way. It may seem like a slog, but once you use it a few times, it's very intuitive. I'm very happy with how it turned out, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, and I'm out. Voice crack.